Right now on the National Weather Desk, wildfire emergency. Hundreds of homes go up in flames as powerful winds make the fire difficult to contain.
We always used to winds, but lately, last 5 years,
it's got worse.
It got worse.
Damaging floods. More than a foot of rain leaves a path of destruction across South Carolina.
It was bad then, but it's far worse now.
Tracking the tropics, we're watching two systems, including Hurricane Rafael.
Category 3 hurricane once again after strengthening overnight.
Drought concerns. Very dry conditions are taking a toll on multiple states. And the blizzard conditions that are making travel very tough in one part of the country.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Well, 48 hours after the mountain fire erupted in Southern California, firefighters say the wildfire is just 5% contained. Fierce Santa Ana winds are blowing embers across communities, destroying any buildings in their path in a matter of minutes. The flames are so big and smoke so thick, it's all visible from space. Now, this is all happening in Ventura County, which sits between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara. Nick Watt is in the city of Camarillo.
At the mountain fire just northwest of LA, nearly 20,000 acres burned, more than 14,000 people under evacuation orders, schools closed, a major highway closed. Still no count on just how many homes have been lost. Another blaze burning in Malibu, firefighters have somehow kept that contained. Power intentionally cut to nearly 70,000 customers for fear of sparking even more blazes in bone-dry vegetation.
You can't even pick it up.
Richard Galante smelled smoke when he woke up Wednesday.
The wind was so fierce. It was unbelievable. I lived here all my life, and we always used to winds, but lately, last 5 years,
it's got worse.
It got worse.
By lunchtime, his house was gone.
There was no getting anything. My wife got one handbag. She didn't have any shoes.
We are in a city right now, the city of Camarillo, population around 70,000. These firefighters right now are trying to contain this blaze. This is a satellite image of the fire within an hour of ignition, and this, a time-lapse showing how fast the blaze spread, scorching a football field's worth of land every 3 or 4 seconds for 7 hours. Embers on the wind can burn one house to the ground while others around sit untouched.
Well, more than 50 million people across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic are under red flag warnings this morning. Dry weather, gusty winds, and ongoing drought conditions have prompted a risk of fire from Boston to Washington, D.C. Philadelphia has gone 40 straight days with no measurable rainfall, while Washington, D.C. has gone 37 consecutive days. Both are all-time records. Now, those dry conditions are helping spark fires in New Jersey. This one is burning right now in Englewood Cliffs, just across the Hudson River from New York City. We'll get to that video in a moment. And in the town of Jackson, residents evacuated yesterday as a wildfire quickly spread. They returned home by midnight. And more than a foot of rain fell in parts of South Carolina since Wednesday. That led to flash flooding and more than 100 road closures. The rushing water washed away many of those roads. And the worst part of the damage was in Orangeburg County, south of Columbia. Joe Matei has more.
It was bad then, but it's far worse now.
Terry Kaiser lives about a mile away from Bull Swamp and says that this creek, which is now a raging river, goes right by his home.
This creek that's behind us runs through our property, so we were a little bit concerned about what might be washing down that way.
On North Road, many areas were blocked off Thursday due to flooding, especially in low-lying areas. According to the Skywatch weather team, the Orangeburg area saw roughly 11 inches of rain overnight.
The water levels are a lot higher with this than they were when the hurricane came through a couple of weeks ago.
According to reports, about 30 minutes away from Orangeburg, a person in Norway had to be rescued from the flooding.
These DOT guys, I mean, they do a jam-up job, but they've got their hands full with this one.
The heavy rain that caused widespread flooding across parts of South Carolina Wednesday into Thursday is just the latest in a series of heavy rain events we have seen in the Carolinas over the past several months. Back in August, from the 5th through the 9th, up to 22 inches of rainfall fell from Tropical Storm Debbie. The highest amounts fell near Moncks Corner, South Carolina. Skipping ahead to September 15th and 16th, potential Tropical Cyclone 8 ended up producing up to 20 inches of rainfall near Wilmington, North Carolina, specifically near Carolina Beach. We all know about Hurricane Helene. As much as 30 inches of rainfall caused unprecedented flooding in the western North Carolina mountains. And then with rainfall that moved through central South Carolina, as much as nearly 15 inches of rain. Again, the latest in a series of flooding rains for the Carolinas.
Well, to the tropics we go, and Hurricane Rafael is in the Gulf of Mexico this morning. That's where it's expected to remain for several days. Meantime, there's another disturbance we're watching near the Leeward Islands. Meteorologist Jennifer Collins has information on both of those systems.
The system is a Category 3 hurricane once again after strengthening overnight, and it will continue to move west, gradually weakening as it does. It will encounter upper level wind shear, which should help it dissipate and kind of rip apart the system. And it will move north and then eventually make a curve back down south. I couldn't put the full cone on here because it got kind of messy, but expect it to eventually work its way south towards the Yucatan Peninsula and eventually weaken into a remnant low. Rafael here is the 17th storm of the season. We've had 11 hurricanes and 5 major hurricanes this season. We're also monitoring this cluster of showers and thunderstorms. Still has a low chance of any sort of tropical formation as it moves west. It will bring in a surge of tropical moisture across South Florida towards the start of next week.
Well, many parts of the country could use rain from one of those systems. The drought is a very real fact of life, especially in the east, southwest, and northern plains. Meteorologist Steve Rudin shows us the latest data from the U.S. Drought Monitor.
35 days have gone by since any measurable rain at Reagan National Airport, and that is a record with little or no rain in the forecast for at least another 48 hours. We do have severe droughts inside and around the Capital Beltway. That's the D.C. metro area. Head off toward the west over into Ohio, West Virginia, and southwestern Pennsylvania. Extreme to exceptional drought. West Texas pretty much the same. And then as you head off toward the north over into Montana and then Wyoming and then the Dakotas, also looking at extreme to exceptional drought conditions. In terms of temperatures, looking ahead to the middle of the month, it's going to be a little bit cooler than average for California into Oregon and Washington State. But then you head to the eastern half of the country and look at this. Temperatures well above where they should be for this time of year. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C.
Well, we now want to show you the impact the drought is having on different parts of the country. So in a moment, you'll see how dry conditions in West Virginia are contributing to forest fires. But we start outside San Antonio, Texas, where a lake is literally disappearing.
Since the lake is at record low levels, all boat ramps are closed to the public, and it's being felt in the community. To fill Canyon Lake, rain needs to fall near Kerrville to create a consistent flow on the Guadalupe River upstream from Canyon Lake. Until then, ramps will stay closed.
We pray for the rain.
It's tough now, but the community is confident the lake will fill up eventually.
It's never been this low before, but it has definitely been low, and we've seen it fill up in a weekend.
And just because the lake is closed, the river is not, and the community wants you to know they're open for business.
Just because the lake is in a historic drought, you're not seeing that same thing reflected. The river flows, and there's still lots of businesses open down River Road and into New Braunfels.
Burn ban or not, wildfires are burning, and smoke from those fires covers a wide area of southern West Virginia. Under dry weather conditions, low water levels in some towns, and fire activity, Governor Jim Justice banned most outdoor burning November 4th. Some 5,000 acres have burned or are burning since the fall fire season, which restricts burning hours, started October 1st. With the ongoing drought, a tougher restriction was needed. Drought conditions, unseasonably warm temperatures, a lot of the leaves off the trees and some wind, and we got forest fires.
Well, now to heavy snow that's falling from southern Colorado into northern New Mexico. A blizzard warning is in effect right now through this evening. Now, 60 drivers were stranded on the snow-covered roads yesterday, leading New Mexico State Police to close many highways, including along the I-40 corridor. More than a foot fell in some places, and another foot could be on the ground by the end of the day. Well, stay where you are, because coming up on the National Weather Desk, looking out for the signs of seasonal affective disorder, better known as the winter blues.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We're tracking a lot of sunshine today, but a cold front's moving through. Look at the range in temperatures, upper 60s and low 70s through New Jersey, southern New York. That's going to range all the way down to the 50s through northern parts of New England. Here comes the front diving south. Look for a lot of sun this morning. You'll notice some increasing late day clouds. Best chance for showers will be in the mountains. One thing you'll probably notice will be the wind picking up late today, tonight, and into Saturday. Temperatures are going to struggle to get out of the 40s on Saturday.
I'm meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We're in for a beautiful day today. We'll have plenty of sunshine as clouds clear by the afternoon, and also looking good into the night. A weak cold front will pass over the region. No rain associated with that, but a cool down will follow. Afternoon temperatures will rise to the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Then overnight, expect a cool down as temperatures drop to the 30s and 40s across the region.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs. We're looking at Birmingham, 82 degrees, 78 in Raleigh, 84 in Jacksonville, 85 West Palm. Looks like we're seeing Rafael staying down in the Gulf, and it looks like it's moving away from the coastal portions of the United States. But we do have some clearing across the eastern half of the country, watching a big system moving through the midsection of the country. Check ahead if you have flights going that way towards Colorado. But other than that, looking at quieter conditions for the southeast for the weekend.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A nighttime backyard walk for this bear in Rhode Island, reportedly the third one caught on camera in a month. With winter on the way, it could have been looking for food to fatten up for the colder months. And to western Montana, where clear skies produced gorgeous light during the golden hour ahead of sunset over Flathead Lake and the Mission Mountains, followed by the blue hour just after sunset.
Well, as the days get shorter and colder, you might be feeling it emotionally. Emily Gracie sat down with an expert to learn about the warning signs of seasonal affective disorder and how it can also show up in the warmer months.
It's about 40 years ago that a gentleman named Norman Rosenthal was working at NIH in Bethesda, Maryland. He was from South Africa, and he noticed at the latitude of Maryland, he got depressed every winter. He had poor energy. And he published a landmark study. They put an ad in the paper, and lots of people responded. It turns out many people have significant changes in their mood or energy every winter.
And is this related to colder weather, or is it related to less daylight, or is it both?
We think it's due to daylight, because when you put people back in a light-dark cycle that is analogous to the summer, long day, short night, they immediately get better.
I'm guessing that where you live matters then.
So the most important factor is latitude. There's no such thing as seasonal affective disorder at the equator, but the further north you go, the greater the incidence.
How do you know if this is a real problem that you should seek help for? What are some warning signs?
If you're not able to do your usual activities, certainly if you're feeling suicidal, then you definitely ought to see a mental health professional.
Given the change in our ever-changing climate and an increase in global temperatures, I'm guessing, and I don't know if you've looked at this, that does not have an impact on the increase of people feeling the seasonal affective disorder because it's related to daylight and not temperature?
Well, actually, when the original investigators did their research, most of the people who called in talked about their mood changing in the winter, but there was a small fraction of people who said their mood got worse in the summer. And we still see those patients. And for those patients, the research isn't as good, but we do suspect that heat plays an important role.
Well, too much rain in a short period of time can cause problems for cotton producers who are in a race to start and complete their harvests. Drew Powell reports.
In this line of work, as a farmer and ag producer in the High Plains, you never turn down a rain.
We always in the Texas Panhandle will take a good rain any time of the year.
When the moisture comes at once in a window of opportunity to receive rain or even potentially snow, it can be a frustrating time for ag producers and farmers who are still working on harvest.
All this moisture we're getting is going to hurt our quality and our grades. The cotton will end up being stained, have some discoloration after it's ginned, and also it's starting to string out of the bolls and off of the plant and falling onto the ground.
But it also can greatly affect the quality of the cotton or the lint by being heavily exposed to these adverse weather conditions.
As a result of too much rain and a little bit of snow, that can create what is called downtime for ag producers and farmers. But they're able to flip that into a very productive time period by putting their machinery inside the barn and working on their tractors and combines. That way they're ready to go once the weather clears.
Well, this fall's unusually warm weather is having a big impact on deer in the Midwest. A disease that typically fades after the first frost is still spreading. As Cicely Porter reports, that will affect hunting season.
EHD stands for epizootic hemorrhagic disease, an extremely dangerous deer disease caused by biting midges. It's not uncommon for this disease to occur in Indiana and Michigan, but it is unusual for suspected cases to be reported this late in the year.
So the warmer temperatures we've had this year have extended the amount of time that we're seeing deer die from EHD.
The disease, spreading among hundreds of deer, will impact local hunters.
In those areas with high mortality, they're definitely going to have an impact on this hunting season. They're going to have far fewer deer on the landscape going into this hunting season. So those areas will definitely see an impact.
There is a silver lining with how long the disease has been spreading. It's allowed the Indiana DNR to get ahead of the decrease in deer by adjusting quotas in some counties.
In the counties where we had were hit the hardest by EHD, we were actually able to lower the quotas in those counties because EHD actually started so early that we could see this coming.
For the counties that have had a large outbreak later in the year, the quotas may impact next hunting season. Another unique factor about this year, EHD was reported in urban areas. The good news, if you consume venison from an infected deer, you won't get sick. EHD does not affect people. I talked with one hunter who, even though found a deer with EHD by his hunting site, says he is not worried about this season.
No, we got a lot of deer in the area. We got the water source, the food, the woods. There's lots of deer out here.
Well, in Northern California, a deadly fungus is wiping out bat colonies. The fungus causes bats that are supposed to be in hibernation to stay awake longer, eventually killing them. Now, that's bad news on several fronts since they are key players in keeping the insect population under control, which means it could lead to more bugs. Columbus meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michaels answers viewer questions on social media. It's a segment he calls the Weather Bucket. Now, today's installment starts with a few questions about clouds.
We've got Jen. What causes clouds to form like this? We've got another one here, this one from Lisa. You can see both of these at the bottom there. We are looking at asperatus clouds. They used to be called undulatus asperatus. You typically get these around stationary fronts where you have just a uniform cloud deck, but the winds underneath of it cause those little ripples in the clouds, almost looking like waves. Another question coming in from Jessica here. My 4-year-old wants to know, is it possible to shoot fireworks into a tornado? More than likely, you saw the movie Twisters over the summer where they did try to shoot fireworks into a tornado. You pretty much have to be in the tornado for it to work, because keep in mind, those winds could be 100 to 200 miles per hour. So when you shoot that firework, that wind is going to carry that firework typically away from the actual tornado. Bev asking, why do we keep getting fronts with wind but no rain? We've been dealing with the drought here in Ohio. We've been dealing with it all summer long. So when you get these fronts to come in, they sometimes absorb that moisture before it moves in. You really need some strong systems to bring in some rain to actually get it to come to fruition. We're starting to see that now heading into November, so hopefully we'll start getting a little bit more rain, but it has been very dry in Ohio. Final question here from Pete. This year we've had a record number of tornadoes and some of the worst drought in our history. Are those two connected? Not really. Here's a list of all of the tornadoes, the top 6 years of most tornadoes in Ohio. I also added on rainfall total so far for the year. We are definitely way drier than all of these other years. And typically you would think with severe weather, you're also going to be dealing with an additional amount of rainfall. This year, it's been both very uncommon, very dry, and also more tornadoes than normal. But it does look like we are heading into a little wetter pattern as we head into the start of winter. Thanks for all your weather questions. Again, let me know if you have any other questions. We'll add them to the weather bucket.
Well, as we head to break, we fly over the Washington state capitol in Olympia.
Well, a very good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We've got some rain starting to move its way into the southern plains as we head into your day today, but most of the Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, looking great. That rain continues to work its way to the north and east as we head through your Saturday, and it'll continue moving its way towards the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley on Sunday. Temperature-wise over the next several days, staying mild for the whole Midwest.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're watching a system pushing through. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s all the way from El Paso back up into Oklahoma City. Very warm, very humid on down toward the south. A front will push across the region today, bringing stronger storms through Oklahoma. See your weather possible in those regions. A marginal risk is there. Temperatures will be cooler to the north, much warmer and humid down to the south. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, a lot of sunshine in the Golden State, but a lot of issues with the wildfire danger, too. Sunshine and 74 around San Diego, but the Santa Ana is continuing to blow through Southern California. Meanwhile, Denver trying to crack freezing. Lots of heavy snow there with winter storm warning and blizzard warnings today in the southern Rockies, and then rain approaching the Pacific Northwest. And that's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
Well, people who live in rural areas often miss tornado warnings because of poor cell service and a lack of tornado sirens. That happened in Middle Tennessee earlier this year, where an EF3 tornado killed 1 woman and injured 12 others. But now that county is getting 7 new tornado sirens in each part of the past 3 Decembers, or in each of the past 3 Decembers, I should say. There's been a tornado in Middle Tennessee. Now, sirens can warn people of imminent danger, especially at night when people are sleeping and aren't aware of the threat. Now to Spain, where crews are looking for more than 80 people still missing following last week's deadly floods. 6 helicopters are flying over the devastated regions. Now, many of those places are covered in mud and are very difficult to access on the ground. And in some communities, a year's worth of rain fell in just 8 hours. Scientists have discovered an underwater volcano lake feature during Coast Guard operations off of Alaska. The Coast Guard says it rises 1,600 feet from the ocean floor and is 1 mile below the ocean surface. Now, it's the first time this volcano lake feature has ever been identified. The area has very little marine traffic. Well, we'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Make it a great day and have a wonderful weekend. And we hope to see you back here on Monday morning.